Hey everyone, I'm Zenith Priest, and welcome to my introduction to A Spread of Rampant Green, where I'll give you insight into the nature of the spirit and help you repel the invaders by turn 5. A Spread of Rampant Green is a strong defensive spirit, providing some offense and control, but it is their utility, in the form of granting faster presence growth, that is a rather unique contribution to the defense of the island. The playstyle also highlights a strength for dealing with towns and a warning to keep track of your sacred sites. A spread of rampant green has two special rules. Choke the land with green allows this spirit to stop a build or ravage at one of their sacred sites by destroying one of their presence in that land. Deciding when to use this will be a significant part of playing this spirit well. For now, prioritize stopping builds over ravages, stopping those only as a last resort. Be careful not to overuse this, or you'll find yourself short on sacred sites for your powers. When removing presence during the growth phase, your steady regeneration lets you use destroyed presence instead of pulling from one of your tracks. This will come in handy mid to late game when most or all of your growth tracks are clear. Until then, it will typically be better to pull presence from one of your tracks. The first thing you'll notice about our growth options is that we will always place a presence into a jungle or wetland within 2 of our current position. As such, these land types will generally be easier to secure than mountains or sands. In addition to always placing presence down, we will have a few options to choose from. Reclaim and gain a power card, place a presence and gain an extra card play, or gain a power and 3 energy. This introduction will be using a strategy doubling down on the ramp aspect, placing 6 presence down in the first 2 turns. It doesn't seek to optimize the use of your innates early on, but it will give you a good idea of what is capable with presence laid down across the island. As such, we will rely on the middle growth option for the first cycle of our hand. A spread of rampant green doesn't start out with much, gaining 0 energy and only a single card play, but their ability to continuously put multiple presence down on the board every turn ensures we won't be slow for long. The track progression offers average rewards, maxing out at 3 energy and 4 card plays, but the growth options allows us to cheat either of these tracks depending on our needs. Our innate powers are split on purpose, with a correspondingly different elemental focus required. Creeper's Tear into Mortar requires Moon, and at the highest level can level a single city or several damage buildings throughout your lands. All Enveloping Green requires water and provides defense in a land near your sacred site, potentially removing a blight if your threshold is high enough. This pair of innate powers can provide a good 1-2 punch, knocking out one threat and letting the Dahan take out the other. This can even be in the same turn if you end up gaining powers with both of these elements. For our unique powers, Gift of Proliferation lets a spirit add one of their presence to the board. Note that if playing with allies, then you must target one of them, but a solo player can target themselves. Overgrow in a Night allows you to either add one of your presence or generate fear if the target land has both your presence and invaders. As such, this power keeps its usefulness past the mid-game, as you can generate enough fear to trigger higher terror levels. Fields Choked with Growth offers some versatility in how it's used. It can set up a counterattack with the Dahan, or keep them safe if necessary. You can also keep a land safe by pushing a town out, maybe into one of your own lands to use Creeper's Tear into Mortar. Stem the flow of fresh water will damage a building next to a sacred site, or all buildings if that land is a mountain or sand. This helps mitigate your weakness in these lands, especially if you have a higher threshold of Creeper's Tear into Mortar to finish those buildings off. Keep in mind that this last power and your innate power, All Enveloping Green, requires sacred sites to function, so be careful when you destroy a presence to stop an invader action using Choke the Land with Green. And with that, let's proceed to the demo game. Keep in mind that this is a solo strategy and will look different if attempted with allies, as Gift of Proliferation must target another spirit if able. Also, I will just be using the base game without any expansions, to minimize the decisions we'll have to make. Alright, let's begin. Turn 1. The invaders explore into the jungles. With a Dahan already present in the coastal jungle and 2 Dahan adjacent, we can set up a counterattack to take out the city. If we didn't have access to the Dahan, it will generally be better to just let this land blight and spend your resources on other areas of the island, coming back to this one later. We'll also stop the upper jungle build, so we don't have to worry about both lands. All of our growth this turn will take from the top track to get to 2 passive energy. Choosing the middle growth, we get 2 presents and an extra card play. The presence goes in the jungles in no particular order, and our plays this turn will be Gift of Proliferation to get a sacred site in the other jungle, and Choke the Fields to push the wetland Dahan into the lower jungle. With these powers, we don't need a sacred site, so we are free to block both builds this turn. We'll worry about the new invaders next turn. For now, push the wetland Dahan into land number 2. Turn 2. We know that we can defend the center mountain next turn, so we just focus on the higher one for now. It is currently out of reach, so let's fix that with our mandatory growth, taking a presence from the lower track and placing it in land 1. And using the middle growth option, we place another presence from the lower track into the upper mountain. From there, we play Overgrow in a night and stem the flow of fresh water and proceed to the fast phase. Use Overgrow to take another presence from the bottom track and create a sacred site in the higher wetlands. All enveloping green won't stop the lower jungle from blighting, but it will allow the remaining Dahan to clear that land. The invaders build in the mountains and explore further into the sands. For now, use Stem the Flow and Creepers to destroy the high mountain town. Turn 3. With no cards in hand, we reclaim and gain a minor power. In general, look for moon or water to reach higher thresholds for your innate powers. Leaves are a good bonus, but not strictly necessary, as we are opening up a number of them in our tracks. In this game, we're also keeping an eye out for something that will help us with that higher sands, because we don't have the resources this time to adequately deal with it. In this set, Drift Down into Slumber provides great defense in a jungle or sand. It doesn't have moon or water, but the defense is too good in this situation to dismiss it out of hand. Gnawing Rootbiters could set us up for the same trick we pulled on the jungles turn 1, but we'd have an extra town to deal with later. It also doesn't provide any of our elements. Elemental Boon will fix your elements if you plan on looking for major powers next turn, which could be a good backup plan if you can't find anything to deal with your current problem. Steam Fence would let us handle the lower sands and does provide water, but that land isn't something we're that concerned with at the moment. Drift Down into Slumber is situationally ideal, so we'll take that one. A growth option will come from the lower track, opening up 3 card plays, and place a presence anywhere that would make a sacred site. We'll play our gift to place those presents in land 4, Fields Choked with Growth to push a Dahan into higher sands, and Stem the Flow to damage the town that's about to build in the lower sands. We'll also use our innate power to defend land 5. During the invader phase, the Dahan take out the mountain town. Both the sands will build, and then they explore into the coasts. We will still use our slow powers as planned before we proceed, destroying the town in land 4 with Fields Choked with Growth and Creepers tear in a mortar, and pushing a Dahan to wipe out the higher sands next turn. Turn 4. With the upper sands about to be handled, we can concentrate on stopping builds and pushing for terror level 2. We have 3 plays available, but only 2 cards in hand, so let's choose the last growth option to gain a power card and some energy. With that influx, we could reach for a major power, but we're in a good enough position that a minor one should suffice. Call to Isolation could let us push the coastal jungle explorer out, but doesn't have any of our elements. Call to Tend could let us clean up, or repurpose the Dahan from the higher sands. It also provides both water and leaf, so it's worth considering. Dark and Tangled Woods is a good defense power, and it provides both moon and leaf. However, the land restriction is not the type we're looking for, so we pass. Pull Beneath the Hungry Earth causes enough damage to take out a town if the conditions are met, and provides us with moon and water. This will allow us to destroy the town in Land 3, and the moon adds to our ability to destroy the town that we'll build in the jungle. This seems like the best option, so let's grab that one. A presence will be placed into the coastal jungle to be able to use creepers on the slow phase. We'll play what we have and proceed to the fast phase. Here, we defend Land 7 with Drift Down, and use All-Enveloping Green to ensure its safety. Overgrow and a Knight will be used for the Fear, giving us 2 cards to resolve this turn. The first one is Emigration Accelerates, which means that we can remove the Jungle Explorer and not have to worry about a town there. Then we find the Dahan and Heartened, which we can use to clear out our lower sands. The higher sands are also cleared during the Ravage, and because we don't have any slow powers needing a Sacred Site, we can destroy a presence to stop the upper wetlands from building. This means they only build in Land 3 before exploring back into the jungle. With Pull Beneath, we destroy the one town remaining, triggering Terra level 2 and claiming victory. Some final thoughts on a spread of Rampant Green. With so many explorers often remaining, Terra level 1 victories will be fairly rare. Overgrow and a Knight is a good way to advance the Fear cards once you've established sufficient presence on the island. Also consider powers that add to the Fear count to get you across the threshold. It's worth noting again to keep an eye on your sacred sites. Because you frequently destroy presence voluntarily, it's easy to lose track of your plan and be unable to execute some of your powers. Just because you have a sacred site doesn't mean you need to stop a build or ravage. Consider the powers at your disposal and whether or not you could deal with build or ravage through other means, especially if it could add to the fear count. This will free up your presence to be used in more critical situations and keep more of your presence on the island. Lastly, keep in mind that the first growth option is mandatory, meaning if the island blights and you've removed all your presence from your tracks, you are still required to place a destroyed presence and pay the energy if you have any, and can't place any destroyed presence if you don't. Alright everyone, that's all I've got this time. Hope you gained some insight, and good luck in your next games.